Hello everyone, Spud here, and in today's video I want to do something that I've never done on a YouTube channel before. I've had several in the past, but I want to talk about my personal experience with gaming, how I got to where I am today, why I do it, why I choose PC gaming as my platform, and really just do my story on how I sort of came to be where I am today. So, anyways guys, I guess it all started really when, oh god, I was really young. I didn't remember exactly how old I was, but I had to be 4 or under, and because I just moved into my first house that I remember, and I had gone over to one of my cousins' places, and they had an Xbox, an original Xbox, and they were playing Halo Combat Evolved, and they let me go in and play multiplayer with them, even though I was terrible and too young to really understand the game, and yeah, but that exposed me to gaming for the first time. And I remember in the car talking to my dad saying, you know what, I kind of like to do that at home. I want to, play more video games. And so he set me up on his PC at home. And the first games I remember playing on PC were a game called Empire. It was this kind of pixelated turn-based strategy game. Then we played. The most vivid PC game I remember playing early on was Counter-Strike Source. It was just around when that came out, and then it was shortly followed by DITY, and we ended up getting the orange box that had all these really cool things in it, but not Half-Life 2. I don't know why. All these games were mods of Half-Life 2, but it didn't have Half-Life 2. So, at least I remember not having it. Maybe it did have it. I think it did have it, actually. I can't remember it, guys. But, anyways, so we played that like that for a while, and I made a friend at school, elementary school, and he had the GameCube, and I wanted the GameCube, so we could trade games and share stuff like that. So we got a GameCube, and me and my sister, we played on it. We both loved the crap out of it. Games I would play on the GameCube were, believe it or not, Custom Robo, Super Monkey Ball, Animal Crossing, the first one. Hey, it's a good game, guys. I was a kid. Don't judge me. But let's see. There was like a Pac-Man adventure game that was awful, god awful. And I sort of stayed with Nintendo for the duration of the GameCube. But when the Wii came out, I was really not happy with it. It didn't satisfy me at all. I didn't like the controls. I didn't like the graphics. And I remember trying to play Call of Duty World at War on it, and I just absolutely had an awful time with the game because the controls were just terrible. And but that's from there on I really started getting into shooters. So I got a cheap laptop, tried playing it on that for a bit. Got the original Modern Warfare 4, liked it a lot more than I liked World at War. And just all in all, started thinking about PC gaming again. But then my friends started getting PS3s and stuff, so I got one too. And then I switched schools, and I was no longer hanging out with those friends every day. And the first game I got on PS3 was Modern Warfare 2. Great game. That was honestly the first shooter that I got really heavily invested in. And I played that game for so many hours. It's the only Call of Duty that I prestiged more than 4 times. And honestly, it's actually what allowed me to sort of fit in at my new school, because I found this group of people who were all talking about Call of Duty one day, and I had only just recently gone to this school. I hadn't really talked to anyone, had no friends, and that's when I approached them. I said, hey, you guys talking about Call of Duty? Like, yeah. Oh, cool, what do you play on? Oh, PS3? Oh, hey, me too. There was one Xbox user, he was sort of the outcast. But, and sort of through this game, we gained camaraderie. We played a few matches together after school that day, and we became friends, and that's how I made it through that new high school. I literally found my friends through gaming, and I kept gaming more and more and more. Ended up getting to a point where it was pretty bad. 6 hours plus a day. I'm still pretty mad on how much I play video games, but as time went on, I started to grow less and less satisfied with consoles. And really the breaking point was Battlefield 3. Because, when you watch these launch trailers, of course we're in the PC version now, I'm sort of, at this point I would say, ignorant of the gaming scene, okay? I didn't even really think of PC gaming as anything after all, because all my exposure to it were on really low-end systems, you know? When I thought PC gaming, I thought Counter-Strike Source, okay? I thought games like Wolf Team, like this crappy, free-to-play shooter. And back then, free-to-play shooters looked really bad, guys. Really bad. And, I always thought that console gaming was sort of the more mainstream and more powerful place to be. But when BF3 came around, I was so disappointed with the frame rate I was getting in multiplayer. I hated the graphics. And I remember looking at the trailer and thinking, bullshit. I don't see that shit. I'm playing on console. Why don't I see that shit? And I started doing some research. And I came across the fact that PC gaming was actually way superior if you wanted better frame rates and better visuals. And I was kind of surprised, but took it with the blows. But the thing is, the only, gaming computers that I knew of at this time were Alienware. Because as a kid, I remember looking at the old Alienware desktops and really wanting one, but they were like $4,000, and Dad was like, hell no. So at this point, I started talking with Dad. So you know what? I really wanted to get a new laptop, and I was thinking that I kind of would like to get a gaming computer. He's like, well, okay. What are the prices you're thinking of? Like, well, they go for around $2,000. And this sort of struck him, and he thought on it for a bit, and he came back to me with an offer. And if I were to enter in, do some data entry for his company that he owns, do some grunt work, and I'd finish it within a week, he'll buy me the computer. I took him on his offer. I missed my deadline, but I did finish later, and he decided to still honor it. And I got an Alienware M17, R17. I don't know what it's called. It was like an R17X or something like that. It was a good laptop. It had a GTX 675M in it. It had 8 gigabytes of RAM. It had an i7 processor, not one of the good ones, but an i7. And it worked. I could play games. I could play games like frickin' Payday. I could play games like Skyrim, Dishonored, Battlefield 3. Those were my first real big PC games on this system. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with that I could customize more and more of this system. And then I would say approximately 5 months after I have it, I get an overheat. Now, granted, this is my fault, okay? Because I'm playing on these laptops, and laptops are known for having heating problems, okay? They're really bad when it comes to heating. And I was playing on the couch with the system on the couch, blocking the fans, and I was playing Mountain Blade, which was really CPU intensive, which built up a lot of heat. And yeah, I fried my system. I did. I had to send it back to get repaired, and then used it my warranty. And then I would say another 8 months after that, so just over a year if I had this thing, the NVIDIA patch that killed GPUs came out, and I had automatically updated it to it, and my system was dead. I wouldn't do another, I couldn't send it back in. I couldn't fix it myself. I tried reinstalling this. I really tried to save this computer, but it didn't happen. It was gone, it was dead, and that was that. So my parents bought me a $900 desktop, and it wasn't for gaming, but I made sure it had some good hardware in it, because at this point I'd become a bit more tech savvy, and I knew kind of what to look for. So I got 60 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM, an i7 4770 processor. I got, those were really the notable parts of the system, and the GPU it came with was actually a absurdly crappy NVIDIA GT 725. It was a YouTube card. It was a card literally designed for nothing other than YouTube and Netflix and stuff like that. It could barely play games. It was terrible, but it was upgradable. I could take this card out and I could put in anything I wanted in it. So, after I got enough money, at this point I'm out of college. I sort of failed out of my first college, and I got a job working security, and I still have enough money to where I could buy a video card, a new power supply, and a new case to put it all in. So at this point I ended up buying a 600 watt power supply by Thermaltake, I believe it was. Then I had a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 780 PNY. It was an enthusiast edition. Came with a nice aluminum cooling solution and a backplate. It's a beautiful card. I still have it because it died on me. I would say roughly 3 weeks after I had it for no reason. I still don't know why it died, but and PNY frickin' refused to refund me. And at this point, I have a pretty low opinion of PC gaming. Like, every time I try it, it breaks. Okay, seriously, it doesn't last. And I did some research because I'm still not satisfied with what even the next gen consoles are putting out. I mean, it was fine, it was okay, but it wasn't what I was looking for. And I didn't like how closed platforms the consoles were. I didn't like that I was restricted to buying games off of their own stores. I liked Steam, I liked GOG, I liked G2A, I liked those other services, and I just wasn't happy with what I was getting on consoles, both in performance and in just freedom of use. So, after doing some more research, I realized I was in the extreme minority. Issues like this were not common, and I was just incredibly unlucky. So I decided to give it another go, and I buy a cheap EVGA 750 Ti, and I throw it into my system, and I start gaming on it, and it just barely outperforms the PS4. You know, it just barely outperforms it. I'm getting 1080p at around medium high settings on BF4 at around 60 to 50 to 70 FPS it would go, but it was playable. And I started playing games like DayZ again. I started playing games like Elite Dangerous, a lot of these cool PC games, and I just loved what I could do on the system. I loved how much freedom I had with it, and it was at this point I really started falling in love with the hardware, because I started tinkering things. I would change out RAM sticks. I would go and I would shop at hardware stores at Best Buy. I would troll around Newegg and I would start looking at things. I started watching Linus Tech Tips. I started watching Hardware Canucks, stuff like that. I started going on forums, becoming a community member of this tech community, and I loved it. I love technology, and I love holding really cool technology in my hands. I love making it work. I love seeing how it all wires up. And I had no issues with that card. It's still working, actually. That little 750 Ti is now in my father's PC, and I put it in there for him so he could play DayZ with me. Yeah, because my dad, who's an ex-Green Beret, actually loves DayZ. And so at this point, I decided to upgrade to a EVGA GTX 970 Super Cloth, because I had a friend who I met through live streaming, which I've live streamed for much longer than I've done YouTube, a lot longer, and he went by the handle of AMD rules, and he really helped me, and he helped me with my first system back when I was throwing into 780, but he let me know about this card, and I decided to go for it, and it was the greatest buy I made in terms of gaming. It opened so many doors for me in what I could do with my system, and with mostly a pre-built system with a newer power supply and that GPU, I was getting 100 FPS in some games at Ultra. I was getting really good frames. It was a fantastic card, a fantastic system, and at this point I never went back to consoles. I stayed on PC. I loved PC. I loved how I could do anything I wanted to my system, how I don't have to worry about like AMD or NVIDIA specific games or anything like that. And I was there. I was what I would call the point of being a moderate PC gamer. And now that I've moved into content creation heavily, I do stream a lot. I make YouTube videos now, as you're watching one right now, and I wanted a system that was sort of no holds barred. And I had gotten some money, I'd come into some money, and I decided that I wanted this system. And I actually cut a deal where I would go half and half on it with another party, and I ended up with what I have now, which is a insanely powerful system that actually rates on 3D Mark as better than 78% of other PCs tested with that software. Obviously that will change once more people get their hands on the 10 series cards, but still, that's pretty damn impressive. I would definitely call this a pretty good system. I'm not sure if high-end counts because I've watched lots of Linus Tech Tip videos, and holy shit, what they do is insane. But, I mean, I can get above 144 FPS in Battlefield 4 on ultra settings in 1080p, and very rarely drop below that. And with my monitor how it is, that's phenomenal. Can't tell you how much better 144 or even 100 frames per second is compared to 60. I can't play games at 60 anymore, guys. I can't. It's just jarring. It's like playing at 30 for people who are used to 60. It's really bad for me. And I will say that, like, I have no real desire to go back to console gaming. I really don't. For me, for my needs, for what I like to do, for how I like to spend my time, nothing gives me the same freedom, performance, and just overall the sense of community as PC gaming does. It's sort of like my home as a gamer. And I can go and I can not only get immersed in the games, but also in the technology and the theory behind it all. I can get really into it, and I can do anything on the system. Anything I want. And that's why for me, for the person I am, PC gaming has become my platform of choice. I'm always the type of guy who looks for the next best thing. I'm always looking for a step up over everything else. And that led me to PC gaming. Once again, nothing against consoles. People who play on console, love you guys. Don't change if you don't want to. But this was just my story on how I became the person I am today. So anyways, guys, if you watched, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like for me down below. If you disliked it, do that as well. You know what to do. And if you have any more thoughts, want to talk with me a bit on gaming or stuff like that, leave a comment down below. And guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.